Hello, dear tutor. My name is Jennifer Albuja, and I am the representation of the group number 4 for the learning activity number 6 about bilingualism. The members of my group are Arrieta Michelle, Ana Luisa Karen, Kiwango Melanie, y Ruiz Josué. So let's start with this topic about bilingualism. The first that we are going to talk about is the effects of bilingualism. For this part, we are going to talk about approaches, hypotheses, and theories of the different types of bilingualism that we have. We have represented this information in a conceptual map. In the first one, we can saw that we are talking about separate system approach. In this one, the bilingual store and processes language is separate cognitive systems. They have two mental lexicons. Languages do not influence or interact with each other. Then we have the integrated system approach. This is have a particular difference with the separate one because in this, the spoken languages can interact with each other. They have mental lexicon, grammar, and phonological skills. And finally, they develop specific and general cognitive abilities of each language. Then we would like to talk about the critical period hypothesis, or CPH. The second language learning should take place in early childhood. This is a recommendation that this hypothesis make because the older the child gets, the more difficult learning becomes. Finally, we're going to talk about the dynamic system theory. Has the bilingual individual's proficiency in each language changed? Has the bilingual individual's cognitive and social context changed? Okay, so let's continue with this a little bit. Sorry, I feel nervous about talking this. And now we are going to present a Padlet where we are going to talk about the bilingualist theories. Okay, here we go. Now we can saw here that we have Padlet. In here we have the Padlet, what we can solve three different theories that today we are going to analyze. The first one is the threshold theory that talk about a minimum threshold in language proficiency must be passed before a second language speaker can reap any benefits of language. For that, we can present here a little picture about the balance that must exist in this theory. Then we can cite some characteristics, for example, the age-appropriate competence in both language, that we had to take into account the positive cognitive advantages and the less balanced bilinguals in any of them. Then we have the linguistic interdependence theory, in which we can cite that a social exchange theory states that interpersonal relationships are defined through interpersonal interdependence. As you can see, this linguistic theory is more talk about that how the bilingualism is developed in social context. Finally, here we have about the developmental interdependence theory. In here, we have to suggest that the child's second language competence is partly dependent of the level of competence already achieved in the first language. That means that it's completely dependent how the learning has their own language or their mother language. For example, how if the first language is correct and they haven't discerned the grammatical and syntax rules that exist in that language, the student could be able to achieve new goals in a second language. Okay, now we can continue with this review of the activity. And finally, we have to talk about the video that we have analyzed, that is the exposure of babies to a second language. In this video that we have here, the picture of the video we're talking about, we have write down 20 main ideas, and we have enumerate them between groups of 10 to 10. So first we have 10 first main ideas. First one, the multitasking is difficult for adults. Second, babies are able to learn multiple languages simultaneously. Third, new parents may worry about their baby's ability to acquire language. Then fourth, through the early 29th, linguistics also had concerns about babies learning two languages at once. 5, an influential paper from the late 1917 suggests that dual language baby will mix their grammar and vocabulary. We know we now know more about bilingualism, and it turns out there is nothing to worry about. The 7 bilingual children are able to separate their languages and valid grammars for both. 8. Students have shown that bilingual children do not mix their grammar. A 20th study found that bilingual children knew where to place negation in sentence for both languages. And finally, of the 10 main ideas, a systematic review from 2005 found no evidence of children mixing their grammars across a range of language and syntactic properties. These 10 main ideas belongs to the theory about how the students, in particular the babies, mix the grammar between the first language and the second language. But with this video about bilingualism and acquisition of language, we have discovered and conclude that the babies do not necessarily have to mix up their grammar. They can separate which belongs to the first language and the second language. So let's see the another 10 main ideas. Here we have, okay, 11. Children are able to keep their language separate in their heads. As I told you before, the kids can distinguish between the mother tongue and the foreign languages they're talking about. 12. Syntax is not the only aspect of language to consider. Sounds also play a role. Babies lose the ability to difference between sounds after a few months old. A study from 2003 found that bilingual babies were able to differentiate between sounds that were important in one language but not in the other. That means the importance of help our children to understand the first and second language, but they have to need a good base about the mother tongue to understand how the grammar and syntax will function in the second language. Then we have bilingualists can have cognitive benefits such as improved problem-solving skills and better attention control. Children who are exposed to multiple languages from a young age have an easier time learning additional language later on. Bilingualists can also have social and economic benefits. The ability of speak multiple languages can open up more job opportunities and facilitate communication with a wider range of people. 19. Parents should not be concerned about their child's ability to learn multiple language. And finally, the 20. Bilingualism can have cognitive benefits such as improved problem-solving skills. Okay, so this is all for today, and I hope this was correct for the activity. We have made all the different aspects and steps that was written in the instructions of the learning activity, and that's all for now. See ya later.